Are you struggling to lose fat, especially the visceral fat that's being maintained around the midsection? If you are, my name is Daniel DeBrock, and for the last 14 years, I've helped men and women get super jacked and strong utilizing some very simplistic ideas, which I'm going to share with you, that's going to help you lose at least 20 pounds of visceral fat. So let's dive right in. Now, the starting point is going to be what actually causes weight loss. There's a variety of different things that people might claim in terms of, oh, it's because you're consuming too much carbs, or it's your hormones, or you've got a slow metabolism, and there's all these things that the social media world and fitness world talk about. So I just want to clarify a couple of things. The only thing that's going to actually directly impact your body weight and your body fat is going to be energy balance. That means consuming less calories than you actually burn. If we consume less calories than we burn, that means we're going to lose weight. If we consume more calories than we burn throughout the day, that means we're going to gain weight. This is the basic fundamental law of thermodynamics. Now, does that mean that insulin, hormones, your metabolic rate, and other issues don't affect that equation, the energy balance equation? No, it doesn't. Those things absolutely affect it. All I'm saying here is that ultimately, if you lose weight, it's because you're in a calorie deficit. If you gain weight, it's because you're in calorie surplus. That's really what it boils down to. Now, that's a very simplified version, and if you want more information on that, I have done lectures, I've written and published about this, so you can go check those out, but that's not the topic of this video. I just want to highlight that so we have kind of a generalized starting point, so the rest of the information that I share is going to make a lot more sense. All right. Now, in order to lose body fat, especially that visceral fat, you're going to need to accomplish a handful of things. And research has found that there's a few things in particular that are highly predictive of not only successful weight loss, but successful long-term maintenance, which is really important, obviously. Okay. And those things are: one, regular resistance training, 3 to 4 times per week. Having a protein intake of roughly 1 gram per pound of body weight, and that's just a starting point. You can go down or up. Generally, I'd probably recommend going up for certain people, but again, it is relative. Getting 10,000 steps in per day, being in a calorie deficit, obviously, as we've discussed, and then monitoring your weight daily and then tracking the week-by-week trends. Okay, now let's break down each one of those variables so you understand what to do and also why. Now, if you stay to the end, I'm also going to be giving you guys a free gift, so make sure you tune in because that's going to help you implement all these things so you can actually apply it literally as early as today. Okay, so let's talk about resistance training. Resistance training helps build muscle. Muscle helps stabilize and regulate blood glucose. Muscle also does a whole host of other things, including helping with appetite regulation, increasing your metabolic output, right? Because muscle is very metabolically active, it's going to increase the amount of energy that you burn throughout the day. Okay, so this is very important. It's the foundation of your physique, especially when you lose weight. If you don't have good muscle, it's also going to kind of make you look this sort of unshapely, formless kind of skeleton. And that's not what we want. We want to lose weight and have a very, strong looking physique. And so in order to do that, we need to put on some muscle, which is why resistance training is so critically important. Now, if you want a training program to give you the specifics in terms of which exercises to do, how many sets, how many reps, how much weight you should be lifting, exercise demonstrations, as well as a complete breakdown of the entire program, again, stay to the end because I'm going to give you that completely free so you can follow it step by step and get some pretty incredible results. Okay, so point number 2. The protein target. Generally, you want to aim for around 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, again, this is just a starting point, and there are reasons for why you might want to do less or more. But again, this is going to get you in the ballpark, and it's a great starting point. Protein are the building blocks not only of muscle, but of everything. Okay, so hair, skin, nails, your heart, your immune system, your nervous system, all of these things require proteins as the building blocks to function properly. So if you're not getting enough protein in, not only you're not going to build muscle, but you're also not going to recover. You're probably going to have some illnesses and sickness. Your likelihood of that goes up if you are protein deficient. Okay, so protein is extremely important. Protein is also very satiating. So the more protein you eat, it's going to make you less hungry. Now, protein is actually very calorie sparse, which means that for every unit of volume of, let's say, of chicken breast that you eat, it's actually pretty low calorie. Like, how many chicken breasts can you eat before you're completely stuffed and you just don't want to eat any? Probably just a single whole chicken breast, maybe even less than that for a lot of you. But how many bags of Pringles can you eat without stopping? Pretty much unlimited, right? So protein is very satiating, which means it's going to naturally reduce your hunger signals, and that's going to help facilitate a calorie deficit, which is going to help you lose weight, which is one of the reasons why it's so effective. Protein also has what's called a very high thermic effect. So the thermic effect of food is the energy that's lost through metabolizing protein. So because it has a higher thermic effect, you're actually not consuming the total calories that are in that steak or the chicken breast or whatever it might be, because the processing of that requires the burning or utilization of that energy in order to process in the first place, okay, which is actually a benefit for creating a calorie deficit. All right. Next, we want to look at our step count. You want to generally get around 10,000 steps per day, okay? Now, there's a lot of research showing that getting 10,000 steps per day has a tremendous effect on your overall health. In fact, the relative risk reduction in all-cause mortality of walking 10,000 steps per day is actually greater than the relative risk increase of smoking. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that if you walk 10,000 steps a day, that's going to cancel out any negative side effects of smoking. That's not what that means, okay? But this is more of like a kind of a nerdy statistical analysis type thing, okay? So I'm not saying that's going to undo it, but that's how significant the benefits of walking are on health and longevity, which, without going into too much detail, that's a pretty staggering statistic, okay? Walking also helps stabilize blood sugar, helps manage and regulate your appetite, which again are going to be very important because we don't want you feeling hungry all the time when you're dieting, because that's what's going to prevent you to a large degree of losing weight. It increases energy expenditure and it standardizes it, right? So if you go for a huge long walk one day and then you go for almost nothing the next day, it's super inconsistent, and that can affect your hunger in a negative way and also affects your energy expenditure. So we want to make sure that we're probably just focusing on a more stable energy expenditure by having a similar amount of steps per day. Now, if you're only walking, 2,000 steps a day, you don't need to jump to 10,000. Just make sure that every week you're getting more and more and more and more until eventually you reach that 10,000 mark, and then you're golden, okay? The next thing is we want to focus on being in a calorie deficit, okay? Now, the target of weight loss is going to be roughly 1% of your body weight lost per week. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you probably want to shoot for somewhere around the 2-pound loss per week mark, okay? And that's going to be a fairly decent rate of weight loss. Now, it's very important that we look at weight loss as a sustainable long-term effect, not just trying to lose as much weight as we can as rapidly as we can. I know that's very appealing. I know the fast results are you want to look a certain way, you want to feel a certain way right now, but if you do that, that is probably going to lead to failure and drop off down the road. We need something that you can sustain over a long period of time. So we don't want to lose weight too fast, not because it's necessarily harmful, but more so because it's unsustainable, okay? And we want to make sure that you're getting the results and keeping them. That's the most critical thing. Now, if you're not losing weight, there can absolutely be reasons for that, like increases in water, increases in food content in the gut, and a variety of different things, okay? But generally speaking, we should be seeing that every single week your weight is going down in terms of the general trend, okay? Regardless of whether or not you've tracked your calories on an app and it says you need to be eating this much and that's going to put you in a calorie deficit, if you're not losing weight, then you're not in a calorie deficit, okay? These equations are not perfect, they're not foolproof, they're just to get you in the ballpark, okay? And then after the result, that's what actually determines whether or not you're in a calorie deficit. So that's a really important thing to understand. Just because, some sort of macro tracking app says that doesn't necessarily mean that you are in a deficit. Okay, and the last thing is going to be regular weight monitoring. Because again, if we don't know what's going on, we can't effectively manage it and implement strategies to solve those bottlenecks. So regular weight monitoring looks like this. You want to weigh yourself first thing in the morning, before you've had anything to eat or drink, but after you've gone to the bathroom. That's going to standardize your body weight in the morning, okay? And then we're going to weigh ourselves every single day throughout the week and then take the weekly average and compare week by week what our progress is, because your weight can fluctuate day to day by as much as 10 to 15 pounds, right? So right now I'm 256, okay? I'm 256, I'm about 10% body fat. My diet is very, very consistent day to day, and same with my step count, same with my activity levels. So my body weight doesn't fluctuate that much. But if I wasn't tracking calories, if I wasn't looking at my step count, if I wasn't doing all these things, my body weight could easily fluctuate 15 pounds in a given day. Not because I'm actually heavier, but because differences in hydration, differences in glycogen storage, differences in food content in your gut, and things like that. So you want to make sure we're standardizing it as much as possible so you can get the best benefits out of this, okay? So standardize your weight and then take the average, and the week over week, that's what you want to compare. So if on week 1 your average was, let's say, 200 pounds, week 2 your average is 198, week 3 your average is 195, then fantastic, you're doing great. Even if on week 3 at one point you went back up to 200 pounds, on one of the measurements, it doesn't matter because the week over week trend is what really is going to clarify the actual direction that you're going. And it's going to help cancel out a lot of the noise so you're getting more of an accurate signal, if that makes sense, okay? Now, lastly, if you're still unsure about what you should be eating specifically and what you should be doing, I already mentioned this in the beginning, I want you to go click on the links below where I've given you a video of what a complete day of eating should look like. I break down everything step by step for you, and I even go through various case studies of some of my clients that I've taken them through to at least lose 35 pounds of body fat. And I've given you different approaches as well as different dietary approaches and strategies that you can use. I've also included a free program that you can use for maximizing your fat loss. And so you can utilize both of those right now by just clicking the links below, and that's absolutely free. So I hope you've got some value from this video. And if you did, make sure you click the button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Sorry, I'm not a crazy marketer, so I don't have some fancy pitch. Just subscribe and make sure you're getting all the awesome content to help you get in the best shape and get super jacked and strong for the rest of your life. Talk to you later.